Imagine coming home from war, your heart full of dreams for the land your grandfather entrusted to you, only to find a glittering empire of condos, 83 of them, sprawling across your property, built by thieves who thought you'd never return. This is my story, and it's not just about stolen land. It's about uncovering a conspiracy that shook a town to its core. The desert sun beat down on my weathered truck as I pulled onto the dirt road leading to my grandfather's 5 acres, a slice of Pinerest, Virginia, he'd left me to build a life on. I'd been gone 18 months, serving in the Marines overseas, and all I wanted was to breathe the familiar pine-scented air of home. But as I crested the hill, my breath caught. Where open fields once stretched, rows of luxury condos gleamed, glass and steel monstrosities with manicured lawns and sparkling fountains. My land, my legacy, was gone. My hands trembled as I clutched the faded property deed, its ink promising me those 5 acres. I stepped out, boots crunching on gravel, and a security guard in a crisp uniform approached, his eyes narrowing. "Sir, this is private property. State your business." My voice was steady, though rage simmered beneath. "It's my property. Care to explain why there's a city on it?" His radio crackled, and soon a sleek Mercedes rolled up, disgorging a woman in a tailored blazer, her smile as polished as her heels. "Eleanor Caldwell, Sunset Shores HOA president," she said, extending a hand I didn't take. Her eyes, cold as winter, sized me up. "Mike Thornton, owner of this land. No confusion here." I held up the deed. Eleanor's smile tightened. "Mr. Thornton, this development was approved over a year ago. All legal." I pulled out my phone, showing photos of empty fields taken before my deployment. "Legal? I was overseas, never signed a thing." Her facade flickered, but she gestured toward a glass-walled community center. "Let's discuss this privately." As we walked, a resident stormed over, her voice shrill. "Eleanor, my patio lights are still out. And who's this?" She glared at me, her pearls gleaming. "Just a minor issue, Vivian," Eleanor soothed. "I'll fix your lights today." Vivian's eyes lingered on me. "He's not moving in, is he? We have standards." I bit back a retort as Eleanor ushered me into her office, where she slid a stack of documents across her desk. "These prove our rights to build." I scanned them, heart sinking at a signature. My signature, but not my hand. "This is forged," I said, voice low. Eleanor leaned forward, her perfume sharp. "We sent notices, Mr. Thornton. You approved this." My phone buzzed. A text from my business partner. "Welcome back, boss. Demolition contracts piling up." Eleanor's eyes caught my phone case. "Thornton Precision Demolition." Her face paled. "You're in demolition?" I stood, towering over her desk. "And I don't take kindly to thieves building on my land. My lawyer will be in touch." As I strode out, Vivian blocked me, spitting, "You'll ruin our community." I met her gaze. "Lady, I own the ground you're standing on. Start packing." Driving away, I glimpsed Eleanor and Vivian in my rear view, already scheming. That night, as I unrolled my grandfather's property maps, a chilling realization hit. The condos weren't just on my land. They hid a deeper secret, one I'd uncover soon enough. Under the flickering kitchen light, I traced the property lines, unaware that a single phone call was about to unravel a web of lies spun long before I returned. The kitchen clock ticked past midnight as I pored over my grandfather's property maps, their yellowed edges curling under my calloused fingers. The condos didn't just encroach. They swallowed nearly 2 acres, a deliberate theft masked by forged signatures. My old Marine buddy, now a lawyer, answered my call on the first ring. "Tom, they built a damn neighborhood on my land while I was deployed," I said, voice tight. "Forged my name on the permits." Tom's response was sharp. "That's fraud, Mike. Worse, targeting an active duty service member? That's a federal offense under the Service Members Civil Relief Act. I'll file for an injunction at dawn." Morning brought me to the Pinerest County Records Office where dust motes danced in slanted light. The clerk, a gray-haired woman named Clara, recognized my grandfather's name on the deed. "He always spoke of you," she said, her eyes softening. "Wanted you to build a home here." She pulled the original surveys, her voice dropping. "The Caldwells, Eleanor and her husband Richard, they've got the county board wrapped around their fingers." As she handed me copies, Clara slipped me a folded note with a name. Ethan Hayes, Planning Department. "He's been waiting for someone to take them on," she whispered. By afternoon, I was back at Sunset Shores, camera in hand, documenting shifted property markers, concrete stakes yanked from their rightful spots. A sharp tap on my truck window jolted me. A woman with a press badge stood there, her auburn hair catching the sunlight. "Olivia Harper, Pinerest Chronicle," she said. "You the Marine fighting the Caldwells?" I nodded, wary. "Small towns talk fast," she grinned. "I've got questions." Before I could answer, a police cruiser rolled up, lights flashing. The officer, hand on his holster, eyed me. "We've got reports of you harassing residents, taking photos near kids' playgrounds." "That's nonsense," Olivia cut in, arms crossed. "He's photographing his own property line." I showed the officer my deed and military ID. His expression softened. "My cousin's in the Navy. This ain't right what they did." He leaned closer, voice low. "Watch your back with the Caldwells. They play dirty." As he drove off, Olivia's eyes sparkled. "A veteran fighting corrupt developers? That's front page gold." I shook my head. "I just want my land back." But her words lingered, stirring a flicker of hope that the truth might find allies. 3 days later, a pre-dawn knock rattled my door. 2 officers stood on my porch, Eleanor Caldwell behind them, her lips a thin line. Beside her was a man in a pinstripe suit, his cologne sharp. "Richard Caldwell, Sunset Shores developer," he said, voice smooth as oil. "You've been threatening our residents, Mr. Thornton." Eleanor pointed to my truck's logo. Thornton Precision Demolition. "He plans to bulldoze our homes," the older officer sighed. "Sir, we got calls claiming you told folks to pack up." I held my ground. "I told one resident the truth. Those condos are on my land, built with forged documents." The officers glanced at my service medals framed on the wall, then at the Caldwells. "This is a civil matter," the older one said. "Take it to court." As they left, Richard lingered, his eyes glinting. "You're out of your depth, Thornton. I own this town." I met his gaze. "Not my 5 acres, you don't." His smile was a blade, promising trouble I couldn't yet see, a promise that would soon crash through my window in the dead of night. The jagged hole in my living room window gaped like a wound, shards of glass glinting under the moonlight. A brick lay on the hardwood, a scrawled note tied to it. "Drop the case, or next time it's your truck." My pulse thundered, but I called the sheriff, knowing the Caldwell's influence would bury the report. As deputies dusted for prints, I scrolled through old photos on my phone, pausing at one of me and my ex-wife Laura standing on this very land 4 years ago. Laura, who'd handled legal filings for a real estate firm before our divorce. Laura, who knew every inch of my grandfather's property. A chill ran through me. Had she played a role in this? I dialed Olivia Harper's number. "I need you to dig into Laura Thornton. She might be tied to the Caldwells." Olivia's voice crackled with curiosity. "Your ex? What's the angle?" I hesitated. She was bitter when my grandfather left the land to me alone. Just a hunch. By morning, a notice was taped to my door. Emergency Sunset Shores HOA meeting. Attendance strongly encouraged. Tom, my lawyer, scoffed when I called. "You're not part of their HOA, Mike. They can't summon you, but we should go, see what they're plotting." The community center buzzed with tension. Residents packed shoulder to shoulder, their whispers sharp as knives. Eleanor Caldwell stood at the podium, her silk scarf pristine, Richard looming beside her. "We face a grave threat to our homes," she declared, her voice trembling for effect. "This man claims our community sits on his land." She pointed at me, and every head turned, eyes burning with fear and fury. Vivian, the pearl-clad resident from my first day, leapt up. "If he owns it, why wait until we moved in? Sounds like a shakedown." I stood, heart pounding but voice steady. "I was deployed, serving in the Marines. I never got notices, and my signature was forged on your permits." Gasps rippled through the crowd. An older man, his face weathered, raised a hand. "My son's in the Army. Were you really overseas when they built this?" Before I could nod, Richard cut in, his smile slick. "Mr. Thornton signed off, then got greedy when he saw our property's value soar." Tom stepped forward, holding up copies of the forged documents. "These signatures are fake. We've filed with the FBI for fraud against a service member." The room froze. Eleanor's composure cracked, her eyes darting to Richard. A new voice boomed from the back. "I'm Ethan Hayes, County Planning Office." He held up official maps. "The Caldwell's development crosses Thornton's property line by 1.8 acres. Their survey was doctored." Chaos erupted, shouts, accusations, residents turning on each other. Vivian pushed toward me, her voice shrill. "My son just bought a unit here. He's got a baby on the way." I met her gaze. "I didn't build on stolen land, Vivian. They did." Through the pandemonium, I saw Richard slip out a side door, phone pressed to his ear. Olivia caught my eye, nodding toward the exit. As we moved to follow, a shadow lingered in the doorway. A figure from my past, watching me with eyes I hadn't seen in years, ready to upend everything I thought I knew. The figure in the doorway stepped into the light, and my heart stuttered. Laura, my ex-wife, her face pale, eyes haunted. She clutched a manila envelope, her fingers trembling. Before I could speak, Olivia tugged my arm. "Mike, we need to move. Richard's getting away." I hesitated, torn, but followed her through the chaotic crowd, Laura's gaze burning into my back. Outside, Richard's SUV peeled out, gravel spraying. Olivia cursed. "He's running, but he won't get far." Back at my house, Olivia spread documents across my kitchen table, her laptop open to grainy security footage. "This is from the county records office, dated the night before the Caldwells filed their permits," she said. The video showed Richard and a guard swapping files in a dimly lit room. "They replaced your property deeds with fakes." Tom, pacing, slammed a fist on the counter. "This is slam dunk evidence. We'll bury them." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Meet me at the old mill, 10 p.m. I can help. L. Laura." My gut churned. Was this a trap? At the HOA meeting's fallout, residents were in uproar, and Olivia's phone lit up with messages. "The Caldwells are demanding $60,000 per household for a legal defense fund," she said, eyes narrowing. "They're fleecing them before they bolt." I clenched my fists. "We need to stop this." Tom nodded. "We've got a hearing tomorrow with Judge Whitaker. With the footage, we'll lock down an injunction." But my mind was on Laura's text. Against Tom's protests, I drove to the abandoned mill, its rusted skeleton looming under the stars. Laura waited inside, her coat dusted with cobwebs. "Mike, I didn't know it would go this far," she whispered. "Richard hired me after our divorce. I was drowning in debt. He wanted details, your deployment, the land's value." Her voice broke. "I gave him your grandfather's property box key." Betrayal stabbed deeper than any brick through my window. "You sold me out for what? A paycheck?" She thrust the envelope at me. "These are Richard's private ledgers, bribes to county officials, fake surveys. I took them from his office tonight." I flipped through the pages, each one a nail in the Caldwell's coffin. "Why now, Laura?" She met my eyes, tears spilling. "I overheard Richard yesterday. If they win, they'll seize the rest of your land. He mentioned handling you permanently." My blood ran cold. Before I could respond, headlights swept the mill. Richard's voice barked outside. "She's in there! Find her!" I grabbed Laura's arm, pulling her behind a rusted beam as two men stormed in, flashlights slicing the dark. We slipped out a side exit, my truck's engine roaring to life. Laura clutched the ledgers, her face ashen. "They'll kill me for this, Mike." I gunned it down the dirt road, headlights off to avoid pursuit. "Not if we get to the FBI first." As we sped toward town, a sheriff's cruiser blocked my driveway, a cease and desist order in hand. "Mr. Thornton, you're barred from Sunset Shores and operating demolition equipment near it," the deputy said, his voice clipped. The order bore Judge Kessler's signature, Richard's old golf buddy. Olivia, waiting at my house, scanned the document. "They're boxing you out of your own land," she said. "But Laura's ledgers change everything." As dawn broke, I clutched the ledgers, knowing the courthouse showdown loomed, where truth would face off against the Caldwell's empire of lies, and a single misstep could cost us everything. The morning sun barely pierced the courthouse's heavy air as I pushed through a swarm of reporters, their cameras flashing like gunfire. "Mr. Thornton, will you destroy those families' homes?" one shouted. Tom's steady hand guided me forward. "Stick to the truth, Mike," he whispered. Inside, the Caldwells sat with a trio of slick lawyers, Eleanor's emerald brooch glinting, Richard's jaw tight. Vivian, the fiery resident, glared from the gallery, her neighbors whispering furiously. Judge Whitaker, a no-nonsense woman with silver hair, took her seat. "Case 52941, Thornton versus Sunset Shores. Let's hear it." And for hours, the Caldwells team spun a web of lies, altered photos claiming construction predated my deployment, a hired surveyor swearing their boundaries were legitimate, residents testified, voices cracking, about losing their life savings. When my turn came, I laid out my grandfather's deed, my deployment records, and Laura's stolen ledgers, their pages detailing bribes to county officials. "Your Honor," I said, voice firm, "I was serving in the Marines when the Caldwells forged my signature and stole my land. These families bought homes on a lie." Judge Whitaker peered at the ledgers, then at the forged permits. "These signatures don't align with Mr. Thornton's military records." Eleanor rose, her voice honeyed. "Your Honor, this is a misunderstanding." Whitaker cut her off. "Sit down, Mrs. Caldwell. I've seen enough." Richard's face reddened, but he stayed silent. "I'm granting a temporary injunction," Whitaker ruled. "No further construction on the disputed land until a full trial." The gallery erupted, residents gasping, reporters scribbling. Outside, Olivia pulled me into a cramped conference room, her laptop glowing. "Mike, this is big." She played security footage of Richard bribing a county clerk, his voice clear. "Make Thornton's deed disappear." Tom leaned in. "With this and the ledgers, we've got them for fraud and conspiracy." My phone buzzed. Laura, texting from an unknown number. "I'm at the FBI. Told them everything. Be careful." Before I could process it, Vivian burst in, her eyes wild. "You've ruined us. My son's family will be homeless." I stepped toward her. "Vivian, the injunction only stops new building. No one's losing their home yet." She shook her head, clutching a crumpled letter. "The Caldwells sent eviction notices. Structural issues, they claim. We're out in 48 hours. Olivia's jaw dropped. "That's not in any court order. Richard's torching the place before he goes down." Tom's face hardened. "He's punishing the residents to frame you as the villain." I stared at Vivian, her anger shifting to confusion. "Why would they lie?" she whispered. "Because they're scared," I said. "The FBI's closing in." Olivia showed Vivian the footage. "This is who the Caldwells are, Vivian. They've been playing you." Her hands trembled, doubt creeping in. Heavy boots echoed outside. Richard appeared in the doorway, flanked by two burly men. "Vivian, step away from him. He's dangerous." I faced him, Laura's ledgers burning a hole in my pocket. "The only danger here is you, Caldwell. Bribing officials, forging deeds, and now fake evictions." His eyes flicked to Olivia's laptop, then narrowed. "You're digging your own grave, Thornton." As he stormed off, Vivian's gaze lingered on me, her certainty crumbling, and I knew the next move would either break the Caldwell's empire or bury me under it. The courthouse confrontation left my nerves raw, but Richard's parting threat echoed louder than the reporter's shouts. I drove to Sunset Shores, where dusk painted the condos in ominous shadows. Olivia's texts burned in my pocket. Residents faced eviction by morning, their belongings piled on curbs. The Caldwell's fake structural issues were a final act of spite, designed to turn the community against me. I found Vivian outside her son's unit, her hands clutching a suitcase, eyes red. "This is your fault, Thornton," she spat. I knelt beside her. "Vivian, the Caldwells are lying. There's no court order for evictions. They're running scared." Her gaze wavered, then hardened. "Prove it." I handed her Laura's ledgers, pointing to entries of bribes to a building inspector. "They faked the safety reports to force you out." Before she could respond, a megaphone blared. Richard stood on a makeshift stage, Eleanor beside him, addressing a crowd of frantic residents. "We need $60,000 per household to fight Thornton's attack on your homes," he boomed, passing a collection box. Olivia, slipping through the crowd, whispered, "They're stealing before they flee." I couldn't stay silent. "That's a lie," I shouted, climbing onto a bench. Heads turned, murmurs rising. "The FBI's investigating the Caldwells for fraud. They forged my deeds, bribed officials, and now they're taking your money to save themselves." Richard's face twisted. "Security. Get him out." But Vivian stepped forward, her voice trembling but clear. "He's right. I saw the ledgers. They've been lying to us." The crowd gasped, some clutching checks, others shouting at Richard. Chaos erupted. A man grabbed the collection box from Eleanor, spilling cash across the grass. "Give us our money back," he yelled. Richard lunged for his SUV, but two residents blocked his path. Eleanor tried to slip away, but Olivia stood firm, camera rolling. "Not so fast, Mrs. Caldwell. The FBI's on their way." Sirens wailed, and FBI agent Marquez stormed in with 3 officers. "Richard and Eleanor Caldwell, you're under arrest for fraud, forgery, and extortion." Richard snarled as handcuffs clicked. "This isn't over, Thornton. I've got connections you can't touch." Agent Marquez smirked. "Your connections are in our interrogation room." As the Caldwells were led away, Vivian approached, her suitcase abandoned. "I was wrong about you," she said softly. "But what happens to us now?" I scanned the faces, families, retirees, veterans, all victims of the Caldwells' greed. "You're not losing your homes," I said. "I'm working with my lawyer to make this right." Tom nodded beside me. "We're drafting a plan to transfer the land to you, the residents, at a fair price." A woman in the crowd, her voice shaky, asked, "Why help us after how we treated you?" I thought of my grandfather's dream for this land, a place of roots, not ruin. "Because it's what's right," I said. "This community deserves a chance to heal." As residents murmured, hope flickering, Olivia's phone buzzed with a new lead, a hidden account tied to the Caldwells, hinting at a deeper conspiracy. I met her gaze, knowing the fight wasn't over, and that Laura's next revelation would test our fragile victory in ways I couldn't yet fathom. The Sunset Shores Community Center hummed with wary hope as residents gathered, their faces a mix of fear and curiosity. The Caldwells' arrest had left a void, and I stood before them, Laura's ledgers tucked under my arm, their weight a reminder of the truth we'd fought for. "I know you're scared," I began, my voice steady. "You bought these homes in good faith, unaware the Caldwells built on stolen land, my land." Vivian, now a reluctant ally, stood near the front, her son's young family beside her. "What happens now?" she asked. "Do we lose everything?" I shook my head. "That's not my goal. You're victims, same as me." Tom stepped forward, his briefcase open. "We've drafted a proposal. Mike will sell the developed land to you, the current homeowners, at half market value, with a 30% discount for veterans and first responders." Murmurs rippled through the crowd, skeptical but intrigued. A retired teacher, his voice gravelly, stood. "Why do this? You could sell to developers for millions." I thought of my grandfather, his calloused hands tracing this land's boundaries, dreaming of a legacy. "Because my grandfather wanted this place to mean something," I said. "Helping you keep your homes is what he'd want. The room softened, anger giving way to cautious trust. Olivia, scribbling notes, leaned in. "This is big, Mike. National news is picking it up." But her phone buzzed, her eyes widening at a message. "There's a hidden account, offshore, tied to Richard. It's funding a smear campaign against you." My stomach twisted. Even in custody, the Caldwells were striking back. Before I could respond, Laura slipped through a side door, her coat damp from the evening drizzle. She approached hesitantly, avoiding my gaze. "Mike, I need to tell you something." We stepped into a quiet corner, Olivia and Tom flanking me, Agent Marquez listening intently. Laura's hands shook as she spoke. "After our divorce, I was broke, angry. Richard offered me $75,000 to track your deployment and access your property records. I didn't know they'd forge your signature." Her voice cracked. "I gave them everything. Maps, your schedule, even the safe deposit key." Betrayal stung, but her next words hit harder. "Yesterday, I overheard Richard's lawyer. They've got a mole in the county office feeding them info to sabotage your case. They're planning to frame you for extortion." Agent Marquez's pen paused. "Can you name the mole?" Laura nodded. "Clerk named Harold Vance. He's been on their payroll for years." Marquez stood. "Ms. Thornton, you'll need to sign a statement. Your cooperation could reduce your liability." As Laura agreed, her eyes met mine, pleading, "I'm trying to fix this, Mike." I wanted to believe her, but trust was a luxury I couldn't afford. Outside, the crowd dispersed, residents clutching Tom's proposal, some offering tentative nods. Vivian approached, her voice soft. "I misjudged you, Mike. We all did." I managed a small smile. Folks don't expect a demolition guy to build bridges. But Olivia's warning about the offshore account lingered, a dark cloud over our fragile victory. As I walked to my truck, a faint rustle in the shadows caught my ear, a warning that the Caldwells' final move was closer than I realized, poised to unravel everything we'd fought for. The rustle in the shadows lingered in my mind as I drove through Pinerest's quiet streets, the community center's fragile hope now a distant glow. The Caldwells were caged, but their reach slithered free, and Laura's warning about a county mole gnawed at me. I pulled into the lot of her coffee shop, its neon sign flickering in the rain. Inside, Laura stood behind the counter, wiping it absently, her face drawn. The bell chimed as I entered, and she froze. "Mike," she whispered, "I didn't think you'd come." "We need to talk," I said, sliding a folder across the counter. Bank records Olivia had dug up, showing $75,000 from Caldwell Enterprises to Laura's account. "You sold my grandfather's land while I was overseas." Her shoulders slumped, eyes glistening. "I was desperate, Mike. The divorce left me with nothing. Richard promised it'd be a fair deal." I leaned in, voice low. "Fair? They forged my signature, Laura. Built 83 homes on my legacy." She flinched, then pushed a USB drive toward me. "This has their encrypted emails, bribes, threats, even orders to move your property markers." Before I could respond, the door swung open, rain gusting in. Eleanor Caldwell stood there, her trench coat dripping, eyes venomous. "Laura, you swore he'd never find out," she hissed. Laura's jaw tightened. "You swore it was legal, Eleanor, that Mike would be paid." Eleanor's laugh was sharp, like breaking glass. "Legal? In Pinerest, we make the rules. Richard's got the mayor eating out of his hand." I tapped the recorder in my pocket, its red light steady. "Not anymore," I said, stepping forward. Eleanor's gaze snapped to the device, her hand darting out, nails grazing my wrist. Olivia emerged from the back, camera rolling. "Smile, Mrs. Caldwell. You're on candid camera." Eleanor recoiled. "This is illegal. You need my consent." Olivia smirked. "Virginia's a one-party consent state, and Mike's all the party we need." Laura's eyes darted between us, confusion etching her face. "What's happening?" I met her gaze. "Justice." Eleanor's phone buzzed and her smirk returned. You think you've won? Richard's already pulled strings. Your demolition license is revoked, safety violations, and Judge Kessler's banned you from Sunset Shores for life. The door burst open again, and FBI agent Marquez stepped in, badge gleaming. Eleanor Caldwell, we need you for questioning on fraud and witness intimidation. Her smirk vanished. Do you know who my husband is? Marquez nodded. The guy we cuffed an hour ago at his penthouse. Let's go. As agents escorted Eleanor out, Laura sank onto a stool, voice trembling. What happens to me, Mike? I studied her, the woman I'd once vowed to love forever. Help the FBI. Make this right. Olivia touched my arm. Mike, there's more. The residents got new eviction notices, effective tomorrow, citing unstable foundations, Richard's final jab. I stared at the rain-streaked window, where Eleanor's silhouette vanished into an FBI van. The Caldwell's empire was crumbling, but their last act threatened to bury the community under its rubble. I gripped the USB drive, knowing the dawn would bring a fight not just for my land, but for the souls of Sunset Shores. Rain lashed the coffee shop windows as I clutched the USB drive Laura had given me, its encrypted emails a ticking bomb against the Caldwell's empire. Olivia's revelation about new eviction notices, citing unstable foundations, burned in my mind. Richard's final act was to shatter Sunset Shores before the FBI could dismantle his lies. I dialed Tom, my voice taut. The Caldwells are evicting everyone tomorrow. We need to move fast, he cursed. That's a bluff to incite panic. Meet me at the courthouse. We'll file an emergency stay. Dawn broke gray and heavy as I stood outside Sunset Shores, where bulldozers loomed like vultures, their engines idling in the fog. News vans lined the street, reporters huddled under umbrellas, cameras trained on the condos. Vivian's car screeched to a halt, her face pale, still in a bathrobe. You did this, Thornton, she screamed, rushing me. My son's family's got nowhere to go. I caught her arm gently. Vivian, the Caldwells sent those notices, not me. They're lying to make me the villain. Her eyes searched mine, desperate for truth. Tom arrived, waving a court order. Judge Whitaker's frozen the evictions pending investigation. You're still the legal owner, Mike. I handed Vivian a stack of papers. These are for the residents. Get them back here by noon. She frowned, scanning the top sheet. What are they? Tom grinned. Legitimate housing contracts. Mike's selling the condos to their owners at half market price, with extra discounts for veterans. Vivian's jaw dropped. But the news said you'd tear it all down. I nodded at the bulldozers. Those are for a community center on the undeveloped land, not demolition. Tears welled in her eyes. Why help us after everything? I thought of my grandfather's weathered hands, his dream for this land. Because no family should lose their home over someone else's greed. As Vivian rushed off to spread the word, Olivia approached, her camera crew in tow. Ready to go public, Mike? I faced the microphones as residents trickled back, clutching the contracts, hope flickering in their eyes. The Caldwells stole my land, I said, voice clear. They forged deeds, bribed officials, and sold you homes they had no right to. But you're not the enemy. That's why I'm selling these units to you at cost, so Sunset Shores can be yours, free of their lies. Cheers broke out, tentative at first, then fervent. Vivian's son, holding his pregnant wife, nodded at me, gratitude in his eyes. Agent Marquez watched from an FBI SUV, her nod a quiet approval. Olivia leaned in. This is going viral, Mike. Marine rebuilds community is the headline. But her phone buzzed with a new alert, a leaked email from the USB drive revealing Richard's plan to sabotage the county's water supply if his case collapsed. My blood ran cold. The Caldwells' final move wasn't just about evictions. It was a scorched earth vendetta that could poison Pinerest itself. As I gripped the court order, I knew the fight for Sunset Shores had just taken a darker turn, one that would demand everything I had left to give. The fog clung to Sunset Shores like a shroud as I stood among the condos, the court order granting me control of my land now a bittersweet weight in my pocket. Olivia's leaked email from the Caldwell's USB drive haunted me. Richard's plan to sabotage Pinerest's water supply as a final act of vengeance. I dialed Agent Marquez, my voice urgent. "The Caldwells are targeting the reservoir. We need to act now." She was already on it. "We're raiding their office. Stay put, Thornton." But staying put wasn't in my blood. I drove to the county water facility, its chain-link fence glinting under floodlights. A shadow moved near the pump house, too deliberate to be a worker. I crept closer, heart pounding, and spotted a man tampering with a valve, a canister of chemicals at his feet. "Hey!" I shouted, lunging forward. He swung a wrench, grazing my shoulder, but I tackled him to the ground, pinning him until Marquez's team arrived, sirens piercing the night. "Nice work, Thornton," she said, cuffing the man, a hired thug linked to Richard's payroll. The canister tested positive for a toxin that could have sickened thousands. Back at Sunset Shores, residents gathered, clutching the housing contracts I'd offered. Vivian approached, her pregnant daughter-in-law beside her, eyes soft with gratitude. "We got it wrong, Mike," she said. "You're not tearing us down, you're saving us." I nodded, the bruise on my shoulder throbbing. "Just doing what's right." Tom handed out more contracts, explaining the half-price sale and veteran discounts. A retired firefighter raised his hand. "Why not sell to big developers? You'd be set for life." I looked across the land, picturing my grandfather's dream of a home here. "This land's for building futures, not bank accounts." Olivia's camera crew captured the moment, her voice steady. Marine veteran Mike Thornton turns the tables on corrupt developers, saving a community and stopping a water crisis. The crowd cheered, louder now, neighbors helping neighbors unload moving vans. Laura stood at the edge, quietly assisting an elderly couple with their bags. Our eyes met, her nod a silent apology. I wanted to trust her, but the Caldwell's shadow lingered. Agent Marquez joined me, her expression grim. The thug confessed. Richard ordered the sabotage from jail using a smuggled phone. We're tracing his contacts. My gut twisted. He's still pulling strings. Olivia's phone buzzed with a new alert, a whistleblower's tip about a secret Caldwell safe, hidden in their office, holding evidence of broader corruption across Pinerest. "This goes beyond your land," she said, eyes blazing. "They've been rigging the county for years." Vivian's daughter-in-law touched my arm. "Thank you, Mike." "Our baby's got a home because of you." I smiled, but the whistleblower's tip gnawed at me. The safe could expose the Caldwell's full network, or detonate a trap they'd left behind. As residents moved back into their homes, lights flickering on one by one, I gripped the USB drive, knowing the next dawn would bring a raid that could either bury the Caldwells for good or unleash a storm none of us were ready for. The Pinerest dawn broke cold, casting long shadows over the Caldwells' shuttered office building as I stood with Agent Marquez, her team prepping for the raid. The whistleblower's tip about a hidden safe, stuffed with evidence of the Caldwells' county-wide corruption, felt like both a lifeline and a landmine. Olivia adjusted her camera, her breath visible in the chill. "This could blow Pinerest wide open, Mike," she said, eyes sharp. Tom clutched a warrant, his face grim. "Or it's a trap Richard set before his arrest." My grip tightened on the USB drive Laura had given me. Its emails are only map to the safe's secrets. Marquez's team breached the office, flashlights cutting through dust-laden air. I followed, heart pounding as we navigated past overturned desks to a locked steel door in the back. A safe, embedded in the wall, gleamed under our lights. Marquez's tech cracked the code, revealing stacks of documents, flash drives, and a ledger naming county officials on the Caldwell's payroll. Judges, clerks, even the mayor. But a small envelope caught my eye, addressed to me in Richard's sharp scrawl. Inside was a single photo, my grandfather's land, with a red X over the undeveloped acres, and a note. "You'll never build here." A chill ran through me. "He's threatening the land I kept," I said, handing the photo to Marquez. Olivia's camera zoomed in. This is personal, Mike. Richard's not done. Before Marquez could respond, her radio crackled. Agent, we found a timed device in the basement, chemical payload set to release in 10 minutes. My blood froze. Richard's final move wasn't just evidence, it was sabotage, rigged to poison the office and frame me for an attack. Evacuate, Marquez barked, but I grabbed the ledger. This proves everything, we can't lose it. We sprinted through the building, the timer's beep echoing in my ears. Outside, residents gathered, drawn by the sirens, Vivian among them, her face pale. Mike, what's happening? She asked. I clutched the ledger, gasping. The Caldwells rigged a chemical bomb to destroy evidence and pin it on me. Olivia streamed live, her voice steady. Pinerest's corruption runs deep, but Mike Thornton's risking his life to expose it. Marquez's team disarmed the device with seconds to spare, the crowd cheering as the ledger was secured. Laura approached, her coat dusted with frost, eyes heavy with guilt. I didn't know about the bomb, Mike, she said, voice low. But I found something else. Richard's lawyer has a backup safe, off-site, with more names. I can get you the address. I studied her, torn between distrust and necessity. You're walking a thin line, Laura. She nodded. I know, let me help. Vivian touched my arm. You saved us again, Mike. That land, build your home there like your grandfather wanted. Her words warmed me, but the envelope's red X lingered in my mind. The Caldwells' network was crumbling, but their off-site safe held secrets that could either seal their fate or ignite a new battle. As I handed the ledger to Marquez, a distant rumble echoed from the undeveloped acres, a warning that Richard's last gambit was already in motion, threatening to tear my grandfather's dream apart. The rumble from my grandfather's undeveloped acres echoed like a warning shot as I raced toward the tree line, the ledger from the Caldwells' safe still tucked under my arm. Agent Marquez's SUV screeched behind me, her team fanning out. The fog had lifted, revealing a backhoe tearing into the earth. Richard's final act, a hired crew digging up the land to ruin its value before I could build. Stop, I shouted, sprinting forward. The operator, a grizzled man on the Caldwells' payroll, sneered but froze when Marquez's badge flashed. You're done here, she said, cuffing him as her team secured the site. Back at Sunset Shores, residents crowded the community center, their faces lit with cautious hope. Vivian stood at the front, her voice steady. Mike's saved us twice. First our homes, now our water. It's time we stand with him. I took the podium, the weight of their trust grounding me. The Caldwells stole my land, lied to you, and tried to poison Pinerest, I said. But Sunset Shores isn't theirs anymore. It's yours. I held up the housing contracts. These make you the owners at half price with discounts for veterans. The undeveloped acres, I'm keeping those to build a home like my grandfather wanted. Cheers erupted, warm and unbroken. Tom outlined the plan, a resident-run co-op to manage the community, free of developers' greed. Olivia's camera rolled, her live feed captioning, Marine restores Pinerest's heart. Laura lingered at the back, helping a retiree with paperwork, her eyes meeting mine with quiet resolve. Agent Marquez approached, holding a second ledger from the off-site safe Laura had located. It names every player in the Caldwells network, she said. Judges, councilmen, they're all going down. A twist came later that evening as I walked the property line with Olivia, the sunset painting the pines gold. She showed me a decrypted email from the USB drive. Richard had planned to frame Laura as the mastermind if his scheme collapsed, planting fake evidence to bury her. She risked everything to help you, Olivia said. I nodded, spotting Laura across the field, organizing a community garden. Forgiveness wasn't easy, but her actions spoke louder than her betrayal. Vivian's daughter-in-law, now glowing with hope, handed me a sketch, a playground design for the new community center. For our baby, she said, and for you. I smiled, the red X from Richard's envelope fading in my mind. The Caldwells faced life sentences, their empire dust, but Pinerest was rising. Residents moved back, neighbors now, not enemies, their lights dotting the dusk like stars. As I stood on the untouched acres, Olivia's hand brushed mine. "You could have sold this for millions," she said. I traced the horizon, picturing a house where my grandfather's dream would live. "Some things are worth more," I replied. The backhoe's scars would heal, but the community's trust was my true victory. Laura joined us, her voice soft. "I'm staying, Mike, to rebuild, like you." I nodded, the past not forgotten but softened by purpose. As crickets sang, a new sound rose, laughter from the condos, a promise that Sunset Shores and Pinerest would endure, stronger for the fight we'd won together. As the last lights of Sunset Shores flickered on, I stood on my grandfather's land, the scars of the Caldwells' greed fading under new roots of trust. This fight wasn't just about reclaiming 5 acres. It was about rediscovering what makes a life worth living. For those of us who've weathered years of trials, the lessons of Pinerest carry a timeless weight. First, resilience is our greatest strength. Like many of you, I've faced betrayal and loss, from a forged signature to a fractured marriage. Yet standing firm, as I did against the Caldwells, reminds us that our past doesn't define our future. We can rebuild, one determined step at a time. Second, community is our anchor. The residents of Sunset Shores, once divided, became neighbors through shared truth. For older Americans who've seen towns change and bonds tested, this proves that unity can heal even the deepest wounds. Finally, legacy matters more than wealth. My grandfather's dream wasn't a fortune, but a home where love and integrity could grow. By choosing to save Sunset Shores over profit, I honored him and found peace. To you who've built lives of meaning, know that your values, passed to children or communities, are the true inheritance. Let Pinerest inspire you. When corruption looms, speak out. When trust falters, extend a hand. Your years have forged wisdom and courage. Use them to plant seeds for tomorrow. As I break ground for my home, I see Sunset Shores thriving, a testament to what we can achieve when we fight for what's right, together. The future is ours to build, brick by brick, heart by heart.